Peace, family. How you doing? It's Mr. R2 here at TBP Live, Boots on the Ground. And today we're going to be talking about The Bridge is Not Over. You know, it kind of played off the song way back in the day, The Bridge is Over, The Bridge is Over. Well, the bridge is really not over. Although it has been cleared, we have two guests that's going to be on today. We have Mr. Sherwin Jose and Dr. Omar Coffee, who is not new to the platform, but it may be new to some of you. And I'm sure you get a kick out of some of the stuff she's going to be saying. I'm just saying. All right, so the first person we're going to bring in is Mr. Jose. He's going to introduce himself and just get a little bit of information on him. And yeah, that's it. Mr. Jose, how you doing, sir?
Doing well, doing fine. Just a little bit about myself. Name is Sherwin Jose, out of Miami, Florida. I'm a military veteran, retired about 3.5 years ago. I'm an owner of Jose Legacy Transport and Freight. Um, I am a very concerned Haitian American, born and raised, um, about the activities going on in Del Rio of Texas. Um, just a little bit about myself. I just wanted to keep it nice and short.
Yeah. All right, we gonna bring in She's on. I'm just playing. All right, we got we got Dr. Omar Coffee. Please introduce yourself to those who don't know anything about you, and reintroduce yourself to those who already do.
I am your queen to be.
Whatever.
Um, so I'm Oh My Coffee, based in Dallas, Texas, founder and president of the Board of Literacy, a financial literacy foundation. We're a Finlit organization helping raise the financial quotient of our youth, making sure that we impact our economic growth through our youth and their communities. I definitely am excited to talk about this topic, although it's a very tough topic to talk about. I'm excited to address these issues head on and kind of how we got here and how we're going to get out of here. So thank you for inviting me today.
Yes, ma'am. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to show a 2 minute clip. Now it's 10 minutes in length, but we're only going to show you 2 minutes. This actually is about an hour old, so it's kind of fresh as far as the information. The bridge has been cleared, but we're going to catch everyone up and let you so you can actually see what's going on. And then we're going to go and talk about the other side. You already know what the other side is going to be. If not, you'll find out when we get to that point. All right, so let's go ahead and pull this up and let's get into it.
Southern border officials have cleared the massive migrant encampment beneath a bridge in Del Rio, Texas. At one point, nearly 15,000 migrants, many of them Haitian, were living at the encampment, looking for a permanent home in the U.S. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle criticize the Biden administration's handling of the situation. CBS News' Natalie Brand has more.
The dangerously crowded border encampment in Del Rio, where nearly 15,000 migrants, mostly Haitians, had gathered over the past week, was empty on Friday. Fitterson John Vare told CBS News he crossed through 11 countries and says he fears being sent back to Haiti.
There's no life for them, he says. I want to cry when I see people in the news deported. There's no life for them there.
The Biden administration says border officers have encountered around 30,000 migrants in Del Rio since earlier this month. Homeland Security says more than 12,000 asylum seekers will go before an immigration judge. About 8,000 migrants have decided to return to Mexico voluntarily. Around 5,000 are still being processed by DHS. More than 2,300 have been deported under a pandemic-era health rule, despite growing criticism of the policy.
It is important to note that Title 42 is applicable and has been applicable to all irregular migration during this pandemic. It is not specific to Haitian nationals or the current situation.
Friday morning, President Biden weighed in on the investigation into Border Patrol agents on horseback aggressively dispersing migrants earlier this week.
Of course, I take responsibility. I'm president, but it was horrible what to see, as you saw. To see people treated like they did, horses really running them over and people being strapped. It's outrageous.
Del Rio's mayor, Bruno Lozano, urged the federal government to do a better job of listening to local officials, saying he warned of a looming crisis back in February. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
All right, that's a little bit of information. Again, that's the newest thing out. That is just a little bit over an hour ago. information as far as about the Haitian. I can't really call them refugees anymore. They pretty much cleared. So, Mr. Jose, especially as a Haitian American, what are your thoughts about pretty much the entire situation and how it went down?
I totally believe it's wrong. But in certain ways, in certain aspects, I can understand what the United States of America is choosing to do. But as far as the Afghans coming in, there's like 90 some thousand Afghans, and there's 30 major corporations opening opportunities for them to be able to become employed. Those are opportunities that they're giving uh, a group of people, specific group of people, an opportunity to reach, I guess, the American dream. And then to deny another group of people the American dream. I feel that's something that's been going on for years. The same thing's been going on with the Cubans. It's been going on with all the other nations in South America against the Haitians. I personally believe it's an attack on the DNA because it's a darker skinned of people, and I do know that it's frowned upon here in America for some reason to be too black or to be dark or whatever the case may be. And I think it might become a problem when it comes um I mean, as far as the people, it's a problem because the darker you are coming into America, it's just so many obstacles you have to go through. And the immigration process here in America is just so hard for them to go the right route, which is paying for it and going through the right channels. And it's very difficult, very, very difficult to do that. And I'm just saying this because I do know this because I have family members that were down there in Del Rio. And I
Mm,
got a phone call last night when they got back to wherever they were in Haiti, that they made it back. But still, um, there's a lot of challenges in Haiti, and they're going through the turmoils of losing their president. They have an unstable infrastructure in their country, and the president. There is no president right now leading that country, and it's about um, an overwhelming fear that is down there because there are gangs, there's militias that are out there torturing the people, and a lot of it is different factions that want to find ways to rule and govern themselves, and they're doing it violently, and they're actually scaring a lot of these people into risking their lives to go out and make that voyage. And I do know that there's a little big difference in a lot of this conversation because a lot of what we're seeing a lot of Haitian migrants that are fluent in either Portuguese and also in Spanish and in French. So we're seeing a different group of people that are just scattered that are actually Haitian or of Haitian descent. And there's a lot of that because of the earthquake that took place. And I feel it's really wrong because United Nations should play a big role when a country as poor and impoverished as Haiti is. They've had an earthquake that hadn't been answered for. The restructure of their capital is still bent and is on the ground. There hadn't been anything done, and there's no assistance, no real big assistance from many neighboring countries to help the people there, and they're begging for an opportunity. And I think that's where the biggest problems are. The surrounding nations that are around there, they aren't really helping. And I do understand that there's some restrictions with the government. There are serious laws and embargoes that are stopping the people to be actively taking care of themselves, and
mm,
they're unable to govern themselves and protect themselves. So that makes it even harder for them to survive. So they're trapped. They're boxed in, and at the same time being deported and not having a opportunity to release the pressure on their families and the people that they have back in their country makes it
hmm.
even worse. Now they're in the country where most of the children were born abroad in a foreign country. They don't actually speak the Haitian language, and
Right.
they got to go. And they're unfamiliar with the terrain and territory. They probably don't have the same level of education or understanding on how the social dynamics are. It's really bad. I don't want to cuss here, but it's jacked up. Um, uh, I have a nephew of mine that's actually trying to find his way out. He's a very bright man. He was actually taught by some well, I think he was taught by a religious group that went down to Haiti a few years ago, and they actually took care of this young man. And right now, he just feels abandoned because he has no alternative. He doesn't see how he can manage a business. He doesn't see how he's going to find money because the money down there is actually almost no work. They actually use American currency more than anything else now, and I think a lot of American influence that's driving this. I don't want to say Hollywood, but it might be like music videos. They see this lavish life of luxury that is being portrayed here in America, and they envy it. They want to find that American dream. It's being sold, and they're wanting to jump there and grab it because they feel they have the potential to be able to do
Right.
those things.
Right.
And leading a lot of the young and the old to actually take a chance on life. I mean,
Right.
because they're in a they're cornered. They're cornered in life.
Right.
It's
So, Dr. O, now, when you first saw this, what were your thoughts? And yeah, what were your thoughts?
Well, ironically, I saw this yesterday, so I don't know why people think it just came out an hour ago, but whatever. Um, Honestly, that is going to typically happen, and we just have to think from the perspective without thinking about um, ego or emotion or feeling. You live at 25-5 Washington Street, and you come outside and there's 12,000 people sitting outside camping outside of your home. What do you do? And when you think from the perspective of what would I do, obviously I'm not going to handle someone as if they're inhuman or disrespect anyone because of the circumstance situation. You're going to figure out what you can do at the best possible respect level that you can do. But when it comes to the pressures of walking out of your door of your home and seeing 12,000 people laying on your driveway, on your sidewalk, at your door, on your back door, on your windows, all up on your roof, laying on your cars and in front of your house and on your trees and everywhere, what would you do if this was your house? And so then we think about it being your community or your city. And then we think about it being your country and your state. And we just sift it out that way. So if we think about it as far as a world perspective, there's a caste system everywhere around the world. They don't like people of darker skin. It's not an American thing. That's a normal cultural thing on many different cultures. Mainly, ironically, people of color have problems with people of color. So when we think about them being Haitian or darker, like the brother just talked about, if they were darker in any country, they wouldn't want them, there like that. I think that the reason why we have an issue with what's happening is because we're trying to compare ourselves in too many different facets. The American dream was built and established and robbed and raped and pillaged for Americans, not other countries. So why are any refugees, why are they running from any country to another country is the problem that we definitely want to resolve. But as we're resolving that issue, I love what he stated about the glorification of American lifestyle and a lot of refugees or people wanting to escape to come to America for the land of the free, home of the brave. And they'd rather come here and deal with whatever, atrocities that we have to go through than to be where they are because our situation is best. So my question or my statement number one is when I saw that, it was like, duh, they're not going to let that happen. So there's no emotion to like, oh my God, what, that we got to stop that. Right. And we have to start thinking to ourselves, am I in a position to do anything about this? And everything about me is going to put myself in position so I can make a difference. And instead of us trying to have refugees run from their country, how do we as Americans go into their country and help them rebuild where they are? Obviously, when it comes to Haiti, it's a different story in different countries because you're having to deal with militia and rebels and different type of energies that you don't know anything about. So you can't just go out there willy-nilly trying to help, whoever. However, there does need to be some structure in place. I love the conversation about the United Nations and looking at this as a world problem and not a people problem versus, when we talk about Black people specifically. This is a world issue. And until the world comes to grips with the way that Black people are treated, the way that people of color are treated, regardless of the tone of their skin, but obviously the darker people, until the world comes to grips with that, I think this is going to be a repeated lesson that is going to, you're going to fail it, and it's going to keep on coming back and back and back again and again until we figure it out and understand that people of color on the face of this earth, period, are having all kinds of third world country issues that will start knocking on the door of America or any country of wealth. And until we resolve the concern, it's going to keep on happening. So to see people cleared from under a bridge in 20 seconds like a magical leprechaun doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Because guess what? Before it even happened, they already knew if this happens, they had a plan in place. What the problem is, we don't have a plan in place. We don't have a plan for when there's an earthquake. Hurricane season is every year, July through October. Hurricane season is every year. Hurricane season every year. Like, I want to just sit there on repeat. Hurricane season is every year. Every year. And every time there's a hurricane, people get discombobulated. Why are we not setting up plans in places? So America has a guard patrol, I don't care which, if it's going to be Republican or Democrat, that states, if this happened, then this needs to happen. It's a deductive reasoning. When this, then this. And that's just a militia, military, protective thing that they have in place. When something happens, this is what they're going to do. So if that had been anybody that they didn't want, if there was no financial benefit, and there is no financial benefit, then they're going to remove that situation because it's not helping this country for them. Now, as a human, it pisses me off, right? As a human, that bothers me. And if I got it, you got it, right? That as a human. But we're not thinking as humans, right? We're thinking as countries and systems and paperwork and documentation and laws and so many other facets, right? So this is not a human problem in a sense of individualism. This is a global issue in the sense of that we all are here on this earth and we all should be doing a little bit more. And some people just aren't in a position to do so. So for those who don't have they can't do anything about what they see, all they can do is be emotional. But for those of us who can actually do something, I just call a clarion call for us to actually start taking action now and using this as the reason on why we're going to continue to take action.
Right. Now, when I saw it, I was I was just thinking, like, how many Mexicans really crossed that same ravine? Because if you got 15,000 people who came across that shallow ravine, and next thing you knew, they put up a rope and began to walk using the rope and walk across there. So how secure are our borders? How secure is it if that many people can come across the border? First of all, in order for them to get to that point, they had to have an entry point. What was the entry point into Mexico? What was the through point? How did they get that high up into Mexico to get to that point to cross over and walk over and all of a sudden be in Del Rio? So I think from a security perspective, the country need to look at the borders. Now, I'm not saying build no doggone wall. I'm not saying that at all. But what are the safeties? What are the safety precautions, or what safeties do we have in place that after this is over, now let's go back to the table and see how can we look at what was there, because obviously somebody came across that path plenty of times. You don't just come from Hades and all of a sudden you know where doggone Del Rio is because someone gave them the map, someone gave them the entry point, and someone said, hey, don't worry about it. And you can go through there. And next thing you know, where it got big was when it went from 0 to 5,000 people. When it went from 5,000 people to 10.
We have to be smart. Yeah, it did. We have to be very, very smart about, like, the way that you're tracking is from the perspective of deductive reasoning and logic. We have to be very, very smart that was all planned, right? Like, we have to just say that was not some coincidental, oh my God, what happened? It was to show, it was an open border opportunity to show we need to do a better job about closing our borders. So now we're going to start doing this. So here comes a law. Right? That was a setup, right? That was a plot and a plan. Do you really believe in all this man's military that We don't see that stuff when we can catch different bin Ladens and Gaddafis and other countries and stuff. We have satellites everywhere. Someone didn't see a blip on the radar with a moving party of 14 billion people. Like, come on. So we have to really be intelligent, like look beyond what's happening right now and understand that something else is taking place, right? The magician always lets his assistant do her thing. And while she's doing her thing, the real trick is being performed, which is the deception. So to sit here and think that some 5,000 human beings of any culture crossed over something, got in something, stood somewhere, built tents and everything, and were supplied with water and food and something, bags and different things. They did not travel with all that stuff. Who is the magician's assistant is the best question to ask. And what's her role in the trick? And once we start to figure that stuff out and resolve that, I believe that we'll start to get our answers. But while we're sitting over here playing with the magic show, right, the real situation is really happening, that before those people left their country has cried out for years and years. We talk about earthquakes and we talk about like different earth things. But years ago, Haiti had issues. Years ago, when they were colonized, years ago. So people are not listening to each other. And for years and centuries and decades and years, these things are taking place. Now that it's at your door, now we want to see what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Well, what here's my take on it. My Creole is not all that solid, but I do understand what you said. You know what I mean? But I listened to an interview that was done, and this is coming from one of the deportees that was exiled out of the United States and was sent back to Haiti. She said that she was at work and she heard that something I think Biden had said, and it gave notice to a lot of people in the community that if you're in Chile, there's going to be a bus. The bus is going to pick you up and it's going to drop you off and it's going to take you to America because the opportunity for freedom is going to be available. And that's what she said. So someone orchestrated a large gathering, you know what I mean? But I will say that, like, not too long ago, about a few years ago, before the assassination of the president, there was Colombians that was found to have arms, and they had like some serious $7,000 weapons that was transported into Haiti, but they were caught, and and I think it was some military members from the military in America. So there's something going on there. I don't know what it is. It's not being publicly, advertised to let everybody know. But what the lady has said is that the bus picked her up, dropped her off, and they told her they told all the people they had to get off the bus. And these were people that had a home, a job, they had a comfortable life. But they understood that Chile wasn't all that pleasant to them because they were from a foreign country. So they all got on the bus with a desire for an opportunity and took off, and they left. That bus dropped them off, and they were on foot for about 3 to 4 months. 3 to 4 months walking to reach Del Rio. So this is ultimately someone with a plan, because you're not going to someone that's working a 9 to 5 to come up with an idea to say, oh, there's a route over here to Del Rio and you can get into America. And they made it. Like how? And we've been hearing former President Trump speak about build a wall. To our understanding,
I ain't think about that.
To my understanding, the wall was being built.
Yeah.
But someone was able to identify that area and know that there was a way into America without having to be blocked off by a wall. As a matter of fact, there's a highway, there's a bridge. And it's amazing that they were able to cross that river. Yeah. And I was totally amazed to hear the lady say that, it was a lot of people that lost their lives. There was a whole lot more people that tried to make it and they didn't make it. They were getting eaten up by bobcats, boars. They were being killed. And she even said some drowned trying to make it through that ravine. So all I'm going to say is that someone has spotted an understanding on how to test the waters. I don't want to say it's Colombia because I don't really know Colombia, but out of what I've understand is that there were attaches that went into Haiti and they got caught, and then years later the president is killed, and after the president's killed, guess who they find? They found military members that were Colombian, and those members were arrested. Okay, and now the country is unstable. There's nothing but militias killing and shooting and destroying the structure of that small community in Haiti.
Right.
I know that there's a bigger mastermind that's behind this, and I know that they're either exposing the government, the security measures that we take in dealing with immigrants in America. And I know it was a big issue a few years ago when Mexicans were crossing the border or when they were being deported from being in the United States, on how the harsh treatment was being conducted. And I know for a fact it's amazing how they were able to transport 10 to 12,000 people out of that area of Del Rio and send them back to Haiti. I mean, I guess America was prepared for that. They were prepared for it, and
Right.
the way
But
it
while
looks like.
America was not prepared for that, America was prepared for this. So the Afghan country that deported people, got on planes, sent people over here, and they really began to open their arms to them. Because as you can see right here, Fort McCord, they
Yeah.
opened Fort McCord to the Afghan refugees. Now, this is just me looking at the other side of the coin. I mean, you can flip the coin, and one side is Haitian, and the other side is Afghan Afghanis. So the Haitian side, they didn't like it. Heads or tails, they didn't like it. So you go home. Then on the other side is the Afghan refugees. The Afghan refugees, like you're saying right here, the communities near Fort McCord, which is an army base. The communities near Fort McCord work to welcome Afghan refugees. Now, they opened their doors to the Afghan refugees, and there was 96,000 Afghan refugees that came from Afghanistan, put them on the plane, and they flew them over here in droves. Now, the Haitian people, like Brother Jose said, Haitian people got on a bus, walked for 3 to 4 months, not 3 to 4 miles, 3 to 4 months, just to get to another entry point, which was crossing over a river and into Del Rio. So how do you see this, Dr. O? Nope, muted. Now you're good.
Sorry. Well, if I was a betting woman and I was a hunter and I needed prey, I would create an opportunity for that prey to fall into a trap, and I would use that trap to fulfill my purpose. And my purpose was, I think those people were hunted, and we don't know the exact details of their pickup and their drop-off location. We don't know where those people are at all. So if somebody went to the news and say 5,000 people reported that they spotted a UFO, these 5,000 people would be ridiculed, talked about, conspiracy theories. They would get, some mixed reviews. Some believe, some don't believe. Some people think they're crazy. Some people they don't, right? So they'll get all these mixed reviews because the story would start to get chopped up, pieced up. Personal views would come in. Theories would begin to arise. So when I think about the most logical step is I would set up, like we said the other countrymen came into that country. Next thing we know, the president's dead. Next thing we know, these people end up magically, deliciously in a situation of where they're being deported from the United States of America, right? I would say, ooh, there's a gazelle that's, a sick gazelle or a hurt gazelle. If I was a hunter, I would go after the weak spot so I could know I'm going to get my kill, because obviously I have to have that kill to feed my community. So somehow these people, where we don't know where they are to this minute, it's not like we have a video watching the pickup showing us where they drop them back off at, right? We have no idea where these people are to this hour. People can make it up. People can say what they want to say, but for the most part, because we have no idea where the people are, it lets me know that it was done intentionally. There's some intent there, right? Because if it was a situation or a circumstance of a true deportation, and I was who I was as a country leader of any kind, or I was working in some type of, I would show my country what I've done to secure them and to let them know that I understand that they were concerned about open borders. Here's what we did about the open border. Here are these people that were dropped back off to their country, and now we're back into America. That didn't happen. There was some fly-by-night thriller horror film stuff happening, magical, daggum, scientific, what are those called? Sci-fi film stuff happening. We don't know anything. And because we don't know anything, we start making things up. And we start going off of theory. And the best theory I can come up with, because this is a theory, is that these people were told to come over here. There was hope for them. Whoever they really wanted out of that pot got over here. Believe that. And whoever they didn't want out of that pot got sent somewhere, but we don't know where they are. So I would take, there's somebody in that grouping of people that is in America today. Whoever those people are was the real plan. The rest of that stuff was just for Sideshow Bob stuff and to get us thwarted and make us emotional, start making us cry, making us upset, bothering us, looking at the slave catching looking white man, capture the black man, and all that emotional stuff to get us off of our mark. But the key is, who did make it over here? That's what we need to know. Who made it over here and where are the people?
Yeah. Someone made it over here.
So I just believe that all of that was just a plan. It felt very hunterish, and it seems like a big hunt, and they got their catch. They did what they needed to do. I don't know if they're harvesting the people's organs or if they have them in concentration camps somewhere where we don't know, or if they shipped them. So we don't know. That's a problem for me.
Yeah. I think you definitely spot on with that. Because the crazy thing was, for me, again, when you hear the numbers dwindle, it's kind of like, I gave you $100 and the next time we talk, it's like the telephone game. Every story is going to be different. But when you were listening to the news, they say, oh, we got 5,000 people under the bridge. Next thing, you got another interview, the person saying there's 10,000 people under the bridge. The next one say there's 12. The next one say they 15. And then the next time you see this today, the whole bridge is clear. I know there were plenty of flights that been delayed because of rain, but all of a sudden there's charter plane that is being, somebody's paying for that too. There's charter plane that's been purchased in order for them to fly back. There's fuel that's been put inside these airplanes that flew these people back or flew these people to somewhere, wherever it is. You know, we're not gonna, be the conspiracy theory team, but how can 15,000 people go to nothing? And then now you bringing out the bulldozer and wiping away all the makeshift tents. Where are all the tents? Where did the tents come from? If you look at the video,
but Ronnie, how many people can fit? How many people can fit on a chartered plane?
I don't know.
But
that's how
100.
Man.
How many people can fit on any plane?
So how many charters really came?
That would have to been a lot. Been a lot.
You're talking over 100 planes.
Flights back and forth.
Yeah.
But who's controlling the flight pattern? Who's busing them? Did the plane come and pick them up at the bridge? I mean, I'm just thinking of logistics.
Yeah.
Logistically, you both are from the military. You know, logistics is about the largest aspect of our military and militia. When we talk about expenses, we talk about all that traveling and luggage and packaging, and all of that stuff takes time. You get notification and letters about where you're headed and going, and who you're going with and what troop you're with, and all. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this stuff. So number one, it had already had to have been there. Yeah. When you enter into the military, they don't make it up when you go to boot camp. There's something already set in place. They already have ideas of where you're going to go, whoever recruited you, or if you signed up, or however you got there. There's all these plans that are already in place when you join the military. So if there were, let's say 5,000, we'll go with the least common denominator. There were 5,000 people. How did 5,000 people get routed to their flight pattern? That flight pattern has to have plans at nighttime at that overnight flight patterns in the middle of the night, which is not normal anywhere except for international flight patterns, and Haiti is not that far. So when we think about it, this had to have, without theory, this had to have been planned properly, at least that much. There had to been proper planning. We have to say that has to be real. When we talk about logistics, logistics is very specific. Even if it's sloppy, there are specific things in every single aspect of logistics.
Yeah.
So I just have to say that, so people are not thinking, oh, they're just talking theory. Remove theory, go to logistics, and tell me how in the hell you transport overnight 5,000 people, period. If we're about to go have fun at the Essence Festival, or we're all about to go to Haiti to clean up, or we're about to go to Africa, or let's say we're going to go to Austin. How do you logistically get 5 people from Dallas, Texas to Killeen, from Killeen to Austin? I just want to know that logistical plan for 5,000 human beings, period. It had to have been planned, pre-planned, very operative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. It's just like they knew they were going to fly the Afghan people. They've shown that. They shown when they picked them up. They showed when they dropped them off. Now they show where they're at. But we don't have any of that when it came to the diaspora. So yeah, that's real. That's crazy. I definitely appreciate having this conversation and this dialogue. I think we need to do better as a country from the security perspective. I think we need to do better as a country in looking at what are our border, what are the conversations that are happening at the border, and how do we now? I know that we can't help everyone. I know that, but I think with Afghanistan, they had a financial responsibility. You don't just walk away from Afghanistan and then the next thing you know, you're now getting Afghanistan refugees and then you're bringing Afghanistan people over here because you have some sort of financial gain from that. Somewhere there's a financial gain. Somewhere there's no financial gain for them when it comes to Hades. I mean, Hades is have some exporting going on, but not that much export that's going to affect anything in America from that perspective. Now, when you're dealing with Afghanistan, there might be some oil somewhere that can affect what goes on here when the fuel prices go up and down. They're buying oil from somewhere. So I think it was really financial from the Afghan perspective. And it was really, it could have been cultural. It could have been anything. When it came with the Haitian migrant immigrants that came over here, but yeah, it's just wild. But I mean, I definitely appreciate you two for just standing in the gap and having this transparent conversation and letting people know, just how we feel. Because a lot of times people don't get to know how real people feel during real issues, and oftentimes those real things that need to be heard are not heard. So that's why we have platforms like this and other platforms where people can get on and talk about those issues or talk about or voice their concerns that allow other people to say, you know what, I was thinking the same thing that Sherwin was thinking, but now it's that's what we do. That's how we think and that's how we communicate. But just again, Mr. Jose, I definitely appreciate you for being on. Appreciate all that you do, especially in your young boys' lives, being an example for them. I forgot the little queen too, and in your daughter's lives as well. So, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Hats off to you and your wife for doing what you guys do for the community and doing what you do for the kids. Dr. O, sure she probably got a phone call or whatever it is where she is right now. But yeah, any last words, sir?
Well, sir, I just want to say thank you for having me on. I just wanted to at least say something for the people, of Haiti. I know it's rough down there and everyone's trying to find an idealistic way of living their life. They want to live the best life. Yes, I'm with them. But for the most part, you just can't come into the country like that. It just, there's some ways that just wasn't the right way. Unfortunately, they had to go back, and I mean, they have to continue on to make the best out of their own country. And, I just hate the fact that I have to say it that way. But, I'm for the first responder, as a military member. I understand they had their lives on the line as well. So, other than what it looked like, if it's a playback of history where it looked like it was slavery, it's a terrible look. But for the most part, they have to find a way to safeguard our borders so that we can maintain the structure that's needed. And this is America. I mean, I hate to see it like that, but for the most part, I love being on the show. This is
Yeah.
my first time on the show talking about a real serious issue. I'm all for it. I'm all for the culture and all for the community. So I want to say Black Power, but
Yes, sir. Nah, I appreciate you. Hey, and I definitely thank you guys for being here, being a part of what we do. And without further ado, man, y'all just be safe out there and let everyone know that we just gotta be good stewards of what we do, because when you are a good steward with what you have, then you will be blessed with more. When you are a good steward with what you have, then you have the ability to be blessed with more. So let's be good stewards with our time, be good stewards with our children, be good stewards of our finances, because when we understand the value that we have with our family, with our time, with our wealth, then we have the ability to continue to grow because we've managed a little, which gave us the expectations of receiving a lot. So hey, you guys be blessed. Enjoy the rest of your day. And remember, we are about business and we're definitely for the culture. Y'all be blessed. Peace.